Today, guys, thank you for having me up. Okay, and today I would like to talk to you guys a little bit about what we do at Formidable and myself and how we help you guys out. So the main thing that we always look at is that first bit of the sentence there is staying in the water. Okay, you're probably going to get a bit bored. I do like to repeat myself for a bit of impact in this presentation, but staying in the water is the #1 concern that I have as an S&C provider. That performing at your best is a secondary concern that generally happens from you guys getting good amount of time in the water. Okay, that's what the presentation is about today. We'll start off with the first bit where I'll talk a little bit more about Formidable itself. Then we'll talk about the way that we implement stuff, and then we're going to go into actually doing something. Okay, what will be our Dryland warm-up. That's the easiest thing that you guys could do to start getting some results and going from there. Okay, sound good? So at some stage you will have to get up. I do make you guys get up and down. Cut across, mate. You're all good. You can be the guy I pick on for most of the session today. He's got green shoes. He's got a green singlet. We'll be great. Easy to spot. Okay, and we'll go from there. Sound good? Cool. Any questions as I go? We will have time at the end where I'll stand around and answer as many questions as you like. But if you've got something pressing in your mind, just go for it. Is the way I like to roll, and hopefully I don't get too sidetracked. Sound good?
Good.
Wicked. So, who am I and why should you listen to me? Well, I'm Ryan. I've been doing this now for 10 years. Formidable Strength Conditioning is officially 10 years old as of this year. And in that time, we have worked with swimmers, and then we have only worked with swimmers for the last 5 of those years. Okay, so we are the only place outside of institutes of sport in Australia that only work with swimmers, as far as I know. Okay. I don't take on footy players anymore. We don't do basketball. We don't do anything else. We just work with swimmers. And we work from swimmers all the way from the age of 12 all the way up to as old as we've had is 87. Okay? That's our oldest athlete so far. Okay? And yeah, that's realistically what we do and how we do it. Okay? Now, in those times, these are some stats that we've had. So we've had 10 years of preparing swimmers for open water crossings. We've only ever had, so Rotto specific for this bit, for Rotto, we've only ever had in that 10-year time 1 person not make it, okay? Apart from the year where no one made it, okay? So that's one time we've had someone not make it. That person had the flu 2 days beforehand and still decided to give it a crack, okay? She missed the cutoff. It was also a really terrible day. So it was one of those other years where it wasn't very nice. So she missed the cutoff based on time, not because she probably wasn't going to make it. And the other bit we've done is 20 world records over the course of that 10 years in stuff like ultramarathon swimming, masters, and disability swimming. Okay? So fairly good stats, I think, to go with 10 years of working with it. We're also S&C Program of the Year last year. Out of every S&C program in WA, we won S&C Program of the Year. What I didn't know was a thing until last year, but apparently it is. So it goes up on the slides, okay? Now, our mission, as I've kind of mentioned before, the thing that I've stuck to for the whole 10 years is how do I keep swimmers swimming as much as possible? And that is what we want to do, okay? My role as an S&C provider is to make sure that you guys can do what you need to do in the water, okay? Whether that's making you feel as good as possible every session or just trying to mitigate some injuries. Okay, that is the whole reason we started this program 10 years ago, was try to decrease the amount of injuries in all swimmers. Okay, in that time we've been fairly successful with that, and that's why we've got those results that we showed you before. Okay, because we really focus on some really core fundamentals that we'll be going through in this presentation around making sure that we have correct range of motion in certain areas, and then we have the stability to survive the load that you go through, and then we recover you as well as we can. Okay. That's the way that we've worked. It's been rather good so far. Okay? Hello.
Hi, so sorry.
What's your name?
Carly.
Carly, you'll be my other volunteer. Prepare yourself. Okay? If I don't forget your name in the process of doing this presentation. But you've got a yellow shirt on and you sat next to green singlet, so we're all good. Okay? Be aware that when I'm up here, I will be throwing a fair bit of crap at you guys. Sorry if I hit you. Just throw it back if you need to, okay? All right, so this is a nice little diagram with a bit of words on it that illustrates what we try and do to keep people swimming, okay? First off, as you've probably heard me say a few times already in the short time that we've been presenting, is this one, reduce injury. That is because you can't swim, you can't get better at swimming unless you're swimming. If you are injured, my job becomes pretty hard for me to maximise your performance in the water, okay? So that's why reducing injury risk is our #1 concern at all times, okay? The next one is to create a safe and positive environment. I'm very aware that the gym is not everyone's safe space or a place that a lot of people feel comfortable going to, okay? Especially when it's loud, there's other people in there, and you don't know what the hell you're doing, okay? So we're very big on making sure that we provide you guys with programs or our swimmers with programs that will make you feel safe. We listen to the concerns that you have with us. If you're scared of an exercise, if you've got an idea, we try and re-educate you on that exercise if that's a problem, or if we need to, or we just make adjustments to make sure that the program still works, okay? I'm a firm believer there is a million different ways to do something. You don't have to be too particular on these things, okay? Someone doesn't want to deadlift, we can do something else to get the same outcomes as a deadlift. What feels safer and more secure or fits with your body type. Does that make sense? Cool. That's what we're talking about with safe and secure environment. It's also a trust and confidence thing, okay? For me to get the most out of our swimmers, we need them to trust me, to come to me when they need it, so we can deal with whatever it is. Even stuff like I've had a shocking day at work over the week, okay? Or a shocking day of work. Coming into the gym and telling me about that helps me because it tells me what I can do in terms of your loading. I might need to decrease your loading that week. For me, for example, I have 2 young kids. They don't sleep. So if anyone has experienced that before, you'll realise you're not going to train as well. We don't want you to miss a session if we don't have to, but we can reduce the load to make sure you get the most out of that session based on how you turn up, okay? Maximising performance, that's what everyone assumes it is our #1 priority, okay? But it's merely one of the factors that go into what we're trying to do here. And that's obviously to improve your physical capacity as an individual, okay? Range of motion, strength, joint stability, okay? Pushing you when you need to be pushed, okay? It's another part that we need to be really big on, okay? At the end of the day, I can give you every tool, or I give our swimmers every tool they need to be successful, but they are the ones who will have to actually put the work in and do the reps, okay? I'm very big on trying to drive accountability down to the athlete themselves, even though we'll work with your coaches and everyone else and your other medical team if you have it, so with physios, massage therapists, whatever. But at the end of the day, if the individual isn't doing what they need to be doing, it's pretty hard for us to get the results or get the results that they're looking for to achieve what they want to achieve. So we're very big on making sure we push you when you need to, and we do that by driving the accountability down to the swimmer. So we hold them to account to the goals that they set, okay? Consistency over time. I'm a very strong believer that there aren't any quick fixes in this space, okay? Things take time, okay? You need to be consistent at those things, okay? I had a headmaster when I was at school, and his favourite thing that he used to say at every assembly and every presentation he ever did, and everyone teased him for it, but now I believe he's probably the smartest man I've ever met in my life, was consistent hard work. He would literally drum this stuff into you every time he saw you. He would try and mention it. Consistent hard work, okay? And it's very important, the consistency part of it. You need to be consistent with the frequency that you're turning up with, okay? That really is a huge part of it. Attitude over talent. We've had a lot of very talented people come to our program and for whatever reason not being successful. We've had a lot of very untalented people or not as talented people come to our program and they have exceeded their goals, okay? Attitude is very key on this. The way that you conduct yourself, the way that you train, the way that you go into stuff is hugely important in terms of what you're wanting to get out of this. If that's just you want to stay swimming for longer, or if you've got a big goal like a Rottnest Channel Swim or another channel swim, or you're swimming halfway around another island that's just existed, okay? These things are important. You need to have the right attitude when you're doing stuff, okay? And the last thing is I like to make it fun. I'm a huge believer that the more you enjoy something, okay, the more likely you are to get the results out of it and want to continue to do it. Now, I understand that the gym is probably not the funnest environment for a lot of people, okay? That's why we like to create a community inside of the gym what people like to come to, and they find the community interactions fun. Okay? Hopefully they find the workouts mildly enjoyable as well. Okay? But I can't win every battle. Okay? And all of these things combined lead us to our gold standard performance, what is what we are always chasing. Okay? Now, this gold standard performance is because nothing keeps swimmers swimming more than progress and actually achieving. That's why we talk about this gold standard of performance. Okay? What is that? Okay? Now, this can be different for anyone. Okay? And that's why we have designed it as such. Okay? Because someone's goals can be completely different, but that does not mean they don't matter to that person. Okay? For someone, it could be, I want to continue swimming injury-free, and that could mean a lot to them. For another person, it could be, I want to break a world record in this weird swim somewhere. Okay? That probably matters a lot to them. Okay? But it's not my job and it's not other people's job to say that one goal isn't as important to that individual as the other. Okay? Because at the end of the day, people do this for different reasons, and we need to be accepting and promoting that. Okay? With that, the way that we establish a gold standard of performance, okay, is an individual achieving a goal that required effort, so they needed to actually be challenged by that goal. Okay? Sacrifice, they made some hard choices along the way to make sure they could succeed it, they could make it. And the last one is consistency, repeatable efforts over time, so that consistent hard work stuff again. Okay? These are the moments that we are chasing, is when people achieve these gold standards of performance. Okay? Does that make sense to everybody? Anyone got any questions on that before I start talking a lot about S&C? Sweet, cool. Hoping the next slide is the start of the S&C stuff, and it is. Look at me, it's like I've done this before. So guys, these are our pillars of swimming performance. This is what we build the nuts and bolts of our programming about, and I'm going to walk over this side so these people over here can see as well, and you guys can look at me closer for a bit. Okay? Number one, as I have probably drummed on about a few times already, and it's going to keep coming up, okay? And I will start asking you guys to repeat this as well. But swimming is key, okay? The whole purpose of what we need to be doing is to make sure that you can swim, okay? You guys are swimmers coming to do gym work so you can get more out of your swimming, correct? That's probably why you would join, all right? So for us, we need to make sure that swimming is making sure that you guys can swim is the number one priority, okay? If that's me telling you that you're doing one session this week because your load's out of whack, if that's me telling you that we need to do this instead of that at the last minute, that's what we do, okay? We're very much about, we will adjust everything on our side to make sure that you guys can stay in the water as much as you can, and we will design our programs around making sure that you can keep swimming, okay? Because it's key. And as I've written down here, no matter what you do outside of the water, if it negatively affects your ability to swim, you miss the point, okay? So, if you come to me in the gym and I give you a bunch of exercises to do and you can't move the next day and you had a training session the next day and your swim session now sucks, I have failed in my job. Does that make sense to everybody? My job is for you to come to the gym, okay? For you to do a workout that your body can sustain, and then you turn up the next morning and feel better than what you would have if you hadn't done that gym session. That's what we aim for when we're writing these programs for you guys. Now, when you're starting off, there may be a bit of an adjustment period. Everyone is different, okay? At the end of the day, and this is what I say to some of the coaches that we mentor, is at the end of the day, everything we do is a series of educated guesswork, okay? We assess people, we ask them questions, we ask for feedback, but at the end of the day, everything we prescribe is a guess to make sure that we get the result. It's a fairly educated guess, and we know exactly what we're trying to do, okay? But someone's body might react differently to someone else's. Someone may be getting better sleep than someone else, and we haven't figured that bit out yet. Someone might not have good nutrition, and we need to go get that figured out, okay? Someone might have a problem with their hydration, and we need to figure that out, okay? There is an individualization to this outside of what we're already doing in the programs that we provide that take time to kind of adjust and get right. Most of the time we get it right pretty quickly, but sometimes it does take a little bit longer, okay? The number 2 pillar is strength train with purpose, okay? Now, if you haven't already picked that up, everything that we are doing generally has a fairly substantial number of reasons behind it, okay? I had a conversation with one of my coaches today, and they were asking me if they could make a program adjustment to someone's program. And I asked them, okay, why do you need to do that? How are you going to implement it? How is that going to affect the swimmer in the gym? And how are you going to progress and regress them to get them back to the training program that they need to be doing? It's 5 layers of questioning, and if they don't answer it, they don't get to change the program. They have to come to me with those answers correctly. Well, not correctly, but have to have very good justification in their mind of what they're doing and why they're trying to achieve it. If it's slightly wrong, we have a conversation about it, and we go from there. But we still need to have a huge amount of purpose behind what we are doing and every decision that we make for you guys in the gym. Okay? Does that sound good to everybody? Cool. And the last pillar that we look at is optimize recovery to maximize performance. Okay? Have you guys heard that every time you swim, you get worse? Cool. So here's a fun fact for you guys, for those who said no. Every time you turn up to training, you get worse. Straight after that training session, you'll be worse than you went into it. Does anyone have a guess at why that might be? Fatigue. Yeah, you're tired. Okay? So you ended up worse. Okay? That is the job of the coach, to put that fatigue onto you as a swimmer. Okay? For your body to then assess, go, we need to get better because I don't want to feel like this again. I want to be better than this. Because the body is always trying to adapt, and then for you to recover from, so you actually make that change. Okay? So without this third pillar, we see a lot of people in a lot of really, really deep holes getting injured and hating swimming. Okay? That's why I've already talked about sleep, nutrition, and hydration already. That's been briefly mentioned. It's not the topic for today, but that's why we have that as part of our programming. So every one of our swimmers goes through, gets a manual around how they should be sleeping, how long they should be sleeping. They get some guides around nutrition, and they get a referral to a dietitian, and they get hydration protocols. Because if we're not getting these fundamental things right, it's going to affect pillar 2, and it's definitely going to affect pillar 1. And as I've drummed on about at the moment, what's the main thing that we're trying to achieve here? Keep swimmers swimming. Yeah? Maximising your performance in the water, keeping you guys swimming as much as possible. Does this start to make sense to you guys? Yep. Great. Good. We're doing all right. And we're only 20 minutes in. We're doing well. So guys, here it is. These are our 2 major things that we focus on as a program. Okay? And I got this from my years as a swim coach. Okay? So in swim coaching, when we started back in when I did it, it was all about minimise resistance to maximise propulsion. Okay? You wanted to make your life as easy as possible before you started worrying about how fast you can go. Because if you minimise the resistance first, what do you think might happen? You start going faster anyway. Yeah? So in my mind, and how I can have a bit of a skill of translating theories across different things, in my mind I was like, well, if we reduce the amount of injuries that we have, for our swimmers have per year, they will spend more time swimming. If they can spend more time swimming, what do you think is naturally going to happen? They're going to increase their performance. Okay? So this second bit, where it's maximised performance, and the bit that other people might try to sell you on is we're going to make you faster, we're going to do this, doesn't matter unless you get that first thing right. Just like when you're in the water, you can try and make yourself faster and do all the speed sets that you like, but if all those speed sets are coming up against a brick wall because you have no technique and you're not efficient in the water, do you think that was a valuable aspect of your time? Probably not. Okay, you probably could have spent that a little bit better, refining technique, minimising your resistance, and getting on that water a bit better. Does that make sense to you guys? Can everyone see how this presentation is going and how I warned you at the start that I may repeat myself a few times? Okay? But I do believe it is super important to get this across to you guys about what we do and why we do it. Because a lot of people assume that we're just about you guys lifting a lot of weight, moving stuff really hard, and focusing so much on that performance aspect of things. Realistically, my life is spent managing and trying to make sure that people aren't getting injured. It's preventing and minimizing risk in your swimming. Okay? And this is the process that we use. Okay? We have 4 parts here. Okay? We have range of motion, joint stability, force development, and then movement specific. Okay? That is how we progress people through our gym program. Now, there's a funny couple of brackets around it that we'll get through in a second. Okay? But range of motion, we have minimal benchmarks that we must make. Okay? Everybody stand up. This is that part where I get you guys to stand up. What does everyone think, no stupid answers, no stupid questions on this, is the most important position for you to be able to get in the water? Horizontal is good. That is a very good answer. I will probably give you that one. The second most, streamline is close, is you getting your arm above your head. Without that, you don't catch the water in your freestyle, you don't catch the water in your backstroke, you don't catch the water in your butterfly, and you don't catch the water in your breaststroke. Does that make sense to everybody? Yeah. So if you can't get your arm above your head, what do you think we're going to focus on first? Getting your arm above your head. You guys are getting good. Hey? This took me 10 years to learn. You're going to figure it all out in a minute. Hey? So, let's put it to the test. Arms out in front of you, or down by your side, please. You can do one arm at a time if you like, or you can do both to save us time, but slowly raise your arms up above your head and get them behind your head. Now, there's a few things going on here. Okay? Some of you may feel like you're doing this. You need to have your chest stacked. Okay? Other people are probably like a Christmas tree. It's not really arm above your head. It needs to be a straight arm above your head. And some other people may be about here. Okay? Thank you, friend. Come here. What was your name?
Don.
Don?
Yep.
Don, sweet. Stick your arms above your head for me again. Turn that way so everyone can see. Does that look like his arms are above his head where we need them to be? No, it's okay. I'm not doing anything to you today. It's okay. But arm needs to go above his head. That's a good example of not quite making it. Okay? Like that is not that. Okay? That means that your catch position is in front and you're dropping your shoulder through. It becomes very hard to pull your shoulder back into position if you're already out here. Okay, you can go back down, mate. Thank you very much. Okay? Does that make sense to everybody? When you have your arm above your head, your shoulder mechanics can reach up, and that brings us on to the next part, what is joint stability. You can pull your shoulder back in. From this position, you can catch and actually use your lats and your pecs to pull through. Okay? We'll demonstrate that in a second. Generally gets a bit of a wow moment. Hopefully it works this time. Okay? So some minimal benchmarks other than overhead range that we just went through. You guys can sit down for a second. I'll get you guys back up in a minute, but up, down, keep you guys awake and alert. You feel good. Okay? Minimal benchmarks. Number 1, rotation. Okay? Rotating is a pretty important skill in swimming. How many of you guys exclusively want to swim freestyle, or is there a fair bit of medley here? Most. It's okay, guys. You can admit it if you like only freestyle. It's all right. It's okay. It's a safe and reassuring environment, like I said before, right? Okay? Now, you guys are masters, so I'm assuming you might be swimming some other strokes as well. Okay? But a lot of people who are trying to do Rotto, all that stuff, this rotation thing becomes pretty damn important over 20 Ks. Becomes pretty important over 50 metres as well if you want to actually swim fast. Okay? So we need 75 degrees of range of motion both ways. That's the way we want that to be for our freestyle and backstrokers. Okay? I'm happy with 60. I'm not stoked about it, but at least you have enough to be able to hit that. That's your minimum. Okay? My true minimum that I like having is 75. Okay? I've just found that over the years, if you can get 75 degrees of that range of motion in our tests, good things start happening. Okay? Internal and external rotation. So that's your shoulder. Okay? Internal rotation is pretty easy to get. Most people get that one. The external rotation is where you get your arm out here. We want about 60 to 80 on that. Okay? Knows that we can get our arm out. Okay? Extension and then overhead. Okay? So hip extension, hip flexion. Okay? fairly specific benchmarks that relate to swimming mechanics, majority of swimming mechanics. For breaststrokers, there is another couple that we go through, but I won't go through that now. It's with your internal rotation, your tib turnout, and your tib, external turnout of your tib, okay? One you can change, one you can't, okay? But for the purpose of not talking for 3 hours on it, we will move on, okay? Joint stability, okay? When we're working through joint stability stuff, okay, we are looking at your asymmetry scores, okay? The difference between your right side and your left side on different things, okay? Because if one side is stronger than the other, it's probably doing a lot more work. If that side is doing more work, it gets more fatigued. If it gets more fatigued, you're at a higher risk of injury, okay? Because then you've got to recover from all that fatigue. Meanwhile, you could also be on the other side of that where you're not strong enough and it doesn't have the ability to stabilize. So every time you take a stroke or when you get tired, because you'll get tired quicker, you start dropping your technique out on that specific side, okay? If we have differences in either side, we can end up with problems down the line, okay? So asymmetry is a big thing we look at. We look at our hip flexion and extension ratio, okay? That is just you being able to do that versus that, and how much force you can put in both directions, okay? For that one, we want it to be a pretty even 1-to-1 ratio, okay? I like having balance in that, okay? A lot of other sports would want you to have a stronger extension because they do sprinting, okay? You guys should be kicking evenly both directions, correct? Yeah, so that's why we want an even flow there, okay? Your internal and external rotation, okay? So that's when we get you to lie down and you get a force output that way for your external and a force output that way for your internal, okay? For that one, we want a 1-to-2 ratio or a 2-to-1 ratio, okay? Where the external rotation needs to be stronger than the internal rotation, okay? Reasons for that is a lot of physios have done a lot of studies specifically on that for some reason and on nothing else, okay? And that's the market that they've hit and it shows a massive decrease in injury risk up to a certain point. Once you get to a certain strength level, we kind of just want to balance it out again. Yo.
Right.
Yeah.
Just that bit you spoke about there. I got lost somewhere.
Yes.
With what you were, the important points you're speaking about, and that mechanics. Would you mind just going through that again?
Yep. Which bit? The internal, external?
Yes.
Yep. So when you're doing internal and external rotation, it is external rotation of your shoulder, okay, and internal rotation of your shoulder, okay? Now, the important part about this, and the reason a lot of people will have a super strong internal rotation, is because if you put your arm up like this, and you pull it down, and you do that, what's happened? We have some internal rotation going on there, okay? So internal rotation has been one of those things that people have tried to say you need to get less of and all of that. It's actually a huge part of the performance aspect of it, okay? Being able to internal rotate is a part of the force generation process of your stroke, okay? Now, if you don't have enough external rotation to be able to support that internal rotation, what generally happens is it just takes over and you don't have any stability and you can't hold that position correctly. Does that make more sense? That's why internal and external rotation is kind of important, okay? And the next one, we have some isometric holds that we get you guys to do, okay? Long duration holds are super effective in your tendon health, okay? In improving tendon and tissue health, okay? They're generally done at body weight, okay? A plank would be one that we don't tend to use, but it is one. We're talking like an isometric lunge hold or a push-up hold or a T hold, anything like that. Green, come here. All right, jump down like this. Okay, I'm just going to get you to do the good one. Take that foot, that heel just off the ground, just so float the heel. Cool, and then just come up like that. Lift your back, knee off the floor. So that would be our lunge hold position. Okay? Now you're just going to hold that. Don's going to hang on there for a bit. Okay, the minimum that we like to hit with our elite guys, okay, is 3 minutes on each leg. Okay, Don, keep going. What's that? It does, ticks along really slowly, but that's just It's just a marker. When we know that it can get to that 3-minute mark, yeah, we know it's obviously a huge strength goal, okay? And it's not something we just chase like for everybody, okay? But it is a little goal. Are you okay?
Shaking.
Yeah, you'll start shaking. That's okay. What happens is it gets bad, okay? But it kind of just stays at that level of suckiness for a long period of time, and then you'll be fine. So just keep going, okay? Okay? Well, I think we probably should, yeah. Okay? I can put that in, yeah. Sorry, I've just got to put this thing in and take a little bit more time. There you go, take that. Oh, the camera's focusing on you as well. It thinks you're important. Okay? Okay, you can rest, it's okay. If you want to do the other leg, you can.
You're right.
Assume. Thank you, mate. Let me just get this to be on me again. Cool, we're back. Okay, so that's an example of it, yeah? So plank, yes, but we work on other ones as well, and they're the main ones, if that makes sense, okay? Now, for this to work, it takes time, okay? We're not expecting anyone to do that straight off the bat because as Dom probably can attest to, it's pretty gross, yeah. Yeah, it's not great, okay? But it shows it can improve your tendon health so well. It requires no equipment to do it, okay? And you can do that for free, like 3 minutes accumulated time, even if you broke it up into 15-second blocks, and you get massive results out of it, okay? Like, they work super well. So for your lower body health, that'd be an awesome one. The push-up hold is very hard, but you can do that as an incline as well. It's just about holding shoulders back and holding that position nice and strong, okay? And then there's a T hold as well. There's a few others, but we try not to get too sidetracked on that, okay? Does that make sense to everybody? And that's joint stability. Now, you may notice that there is a bracket around the two of them. Would anyone like to guess why there is a bracket around both of them? Yeah, correct. Because most of the time, we aren't solely working on one and then the other, okay? Most of the time, we'll be doing both of these at the same time at the start of your programming, okay? Because what a lot of people don't necessarily understand is that the best way to improve your range of motion a lot of the time is to get stronger in key stability areas while doing the stretching and mobility work, okay? The body works in a weird and wonderful way that it locks things down that are weak to protect it. It wants to create tension where it can in the easiest way possible. The problem with that is it doesn't let it go. And that's why we develop tightness and these imbalances and stuff like that over time, okay? What we are looking to do is to strengthen those weak parts so the body then recognizes that it does have the strength there and starts allowing you to use it more effectively over time. Does that make sense to everybody? Because the body just works in a fear, like a lot of the time, works in a fear response pattern, okay? It goes, this sucked once, I'm locking this down so it doesn't suck again. Just like how when you train, it goes, that sucked, I need to now get better, okay? It's constantly adapting, we just need to make it adapt in the right way, okay? Any questions on any of that so far? Wicked. Stunned silence. Excellent. Then we start moving on to actually worrying about force development, okay? This is where we start looking at things like power to weight ratios, maximal output, peak force, okay? Power to weight ratio is a great one for your body weight exercises to show that you can move your body really well, okay? Your max output is obviously just really good to be able to see how much force you can actually produce, okay? Peak force is how much force you can deliver quickly, okay? So how quickly can you act on that force? Because at some points, it's all very well being able to get a huge amount of output, maximal output, but if you can't apply that quickly, it's probably going to be lost in the pool because you do need to start applying stuff pretty quickly in the water when you're trying to go fast, okay? And then we also have just general movement work in that stage, okay? So this is where you'd get big on, you know, your squatting, deadlifts, pull-ups, all those things, okay? At whatever regression, progression level suits the person. Does that all make sense to everybody? And then after that, After we've traveled from here to here to here, we then look at specific movements. Okay? Has anyone been on the internet lately and seen swimming workouts? Do you see a lot of people with bands trying to mimic strokes and stuff like that? It looks really cool, okay? Terribly ineffective. Okay? We've tried it, didn't work. We actually got more injuries from it. Reason we got more injuries is because we realised that the best way to mitigate injuries is to work on the opposite muscles than the ones that you're already using in the pool. Because that creates the stability and balance in the body that we need. And then once that balance has been achieved, we then start focusing on the muscles that you may need to actually apply force. Okay? What happens if you go and you get a band or a cable machine and you just start trying to do a load of freestyle in the gym, okay? Not only have you just increased the amount of time that you're doing freestyle stroking, because now you're trying to replicate it in there, you're also doing it in a completely foreign environment that doesn't actually replicate the buoyancy factor and the resistance and the assistance that you get while you're in the water. Okay? Because you pulling yourself in water is very different than you pulling yourself in the gym. Okay? You weigh a lot more out of the water than you do in the water. Okay? It's very hard for us to measure how much weight or resistance you are pulling in the water to try and match it to an applicable standard in the gym. Does that make sense to everybody? So when we are trying to do specific stuff, we focus on these things, okay? We work on specific attributes. So that is obviously movement specific. So we do try and mimic that movement, okay? But we do it in ways that also touch upon getting the speed, getting the rotation in, the duration of the movement, how long you might be working out, like working in the water for, all those other aspects. So we try and hit as many different things as possible. An example of this would be a med ball slam down. You just pick a ball up above your head, okay? Roll your hand over it and slam it down right next to your feet, okay? Delivers a lot of force. You can get very close to the movement if you practice it, get good at practicing it and you develop some coordination, okay? But it also replicates the speed that you'll probably be acting on in the water when you're sprinting or trying to go fast. So we've hit 3 major things. There's 5 different ones that we can hit. If we hit 3, I'm pretty happy. We're never trying to act on all 5, okay? Because if we're acting on all 5, we probably should just be in the water, okay? There's nothing more specific for your training than actually swimming, okay? Does that make sense to everybody? Cool. And I might as well just get you to do more swimming if that was the case. If I just wanted to make your gym workouts to replicate your swimming 100%, I might as well tell you to go swim. Okay? You probably enjoy it more. It's safer. And have you ever tried to teach swimmers how to move outside of the water? Train wreck. Yeah? Foreign place for you guys. It does not work too well. Okay? Ends up looking terrible. So you spend so much of your time trying to teach them an exercise that you've made up in your head to try and replicate it. It doesn't actually work in the first place the way you thought it would. And they look stupid and don't want to be in the gym anymore. Okay? Does that make sense to everybody? Yeah. Okay? Way more effective use of your time. Slamming a ball down. Okay? Getting a specific isometric hold. Okay? Because that would replicate the angles that you need and the force output that you're going to require and probably the duration of the movements. Okay? So you get your 3 there. Isometric movements, overloading strength and stuff like that, and then slamming down. It's different movements like that. For breaststrokers, for example, you can replicate it through jumping. For your dives, you can replicate it through jumping or bouncing or anything like that, okay? And you can make those safe for any age group, okay? Or if it's not safe, don't do it, okay? Does that make sense to everybody? Well, you could choose. That is up to you. I've done 2, I've done 1. The breaststrokers and the butterflies, I get them to use 2. My freestyle and backstrokers, I get them to use 1. Because when we're doing it with one hand, I can get them to rotate into it a little bit better. Okay, so we can generate force throughout the whole trunk. But when we're doing it with butterfly and breaststroker, we don't really want them to rotate. So we use both hands and try and get that pull down motion there. Okay? That make sense? Yeah, so again, you can make it specific. Even something as simple as that can be made specific. And that's way more specific than me getting you on a cable machine and doing it weirdly, okay? We actually have started getting some of our really top guys who have been in the gym on a cable machine replicating it, but they have been training with us for like 4 years, and this is the first time they've ever done it, and it's in their prep for open water nationals, okay? So out of 4 years of training, they've spent 7 weeks doing this very specific movement on a cable machine, with programming for the last year that has led them to that moment. Does that make sense? Through different isometric holds and different ways of doing things, okay? And that is the only time I've done it. I felt really guilty doing it because I get up here and poo on it quite a lot, but it's actually working quite well in this case. Would I get my juniors to do it? Absolutely not. It'll be an absolute disaster, okay? Would I get the guys who have not trained that much with us to do it? No, it'll be a disaster, okay? Too complex a movement in a foreign environment with no prep. Not a great combination of things to keep people swimming, okay? And these are where those things sit in this continuum that we've talked about, okay? So our reduce injury side of things is more down here with our mobility and joint stability work, okay? And then our maximise performance is in our force development and then specific movements, okay? Does that all make sense? I understand that is a fair bit of information being dropped on your laps, okay? Any questions on any of that before we check out the next bit? Because, I believe that's the warm-up.
How long would it take from the original assessment to go through that?
The whole stage?
Results, yeah.
We've done it in a 12-week program. So our 12-week, we did a program specifically designed around that framework for Geo Bay that a lot of people got a lot of good results out of. But it's the complexity that changes, because we can make the joint-specific stuff really, like the swimming-specific stuff, really simple. Like slamming a med ball down is not a complicated movement. A lot of people can pick that up really quickly, and you can put that in at the end. Does that make sense? Jumping, for a lot of people, can be a quite easy movement to get your head around. Does that make sense? Like, you can make it, it's just the complexity of the exercise selection that you're choosing, depending on how long they've been training with us for. But typically, we spend, so most of the guys that we have are with us for about 6 months to a year. And that's generally, they'll work through that progress then. So what we'll try and do is when they are not doing competitions, we'll have a heap of time here with a mild amount of time trying to get to this spot here while they're in off season, because we can do a lot of work with them. They don't have a lot of competitions on weekends and stuff like that. There's not weird bits of extra load getting thrown at them, okay? And then when they get to like closer to their peak event, or when there's more competitions, we start focusing a little bit further on this side of things. What would make sense, right? Because at the end of the day, if you're here to compete, you want to do well and you want to maximise that event, right? So that's kind of how that would frame out. Sorry, that's rather vague and doesn't give you a really defined answer, but it is quite hard to do that. Does that make sense? Cool. Anything else? Nothing? Sweet. Take a little drink. Oh, I didn't do my party trick. Hang on. You guys have been sitting down for too long. Everyone stand up. I'll go back. Okay, so range of motion. We established that overhead, we need to get all the way up here, yeah? Now, I want you to get back in that position up here, and I want you to reach up as high as you can. Really stretch it out. You don't have to go on your tippy toes. That was just me trying to demonstrate a point. Reach up as far as you can, okay? Now, when we talk about joint stability, you may have heard me talk about joint centration at some point during this presentation as well. You can put your arms down again. I'm going to talk for a little bit, okay? What we're trying to do when we're talking about centrating a joint is to center the joint, okay? So we're trying to put the limb inside the center of that joint socket, okay? And hold that through force when we're developing force, okay? That's what joint centration means. I'm probably going to say it a few more times, just easy for us to explain it now. So what I'm going to get you guys to do is raise your arms up as high as you can, reach, okay? I want you to put one arm down, because it's easier with one arm, and you're going to go hand over, elbow high, and then pull down. Does anyone feel anything happening through here? Not at all, yeah? Because we're all the way up here. We've gone like that, and then we've gone here. See what happens to my arm when we do that? When you really try not to think about it and to be perfect. The shoulder rolls forwards naturally and leaves and is not centrated in that joint. Okay? So we're way out here. Okay? If you hold, like me holding that for an extended period of time starts to make my front of my shoulder get a bit sore and icky. Yeah? When you guys swim, how many people will do, say, a pull set or a longer distance set and they feel the front of their shoulder starting to get a bit sore? Yeah? Most likely, because I haven't seen you swim, okay, and I don't want to just make a grand gesture, most likely what is happening there is you are not stabilizing that joint and you're rolling into that stroke. Okay? So you are using your internal rotators to try and generate the force that your lats and pecs are supposed to be doing for you. Does that make sense? That's why it fatigues. That's why it gets sore really quickly. And that's why a lot of people have issues with bursitis and stuff like that, and tendinopathies, okay? Because the tendon at the front gets really aggravated and really inflamed from all this rolling over and being outside of the joint, okay? It works really well when the capsule is working with the big muscles around it, okay? So how do we do that? Let's raise our arm up again, reach as high as we can. Now, all I want you to do, I don't want you to bend your elbow, okay? I want you to just pull your shoulder down. No elbow bend. Hold that. You should feel your lat at least turn on. If you're really good, you should feel your pec as well. You should feel some tension through here in these two sides, okay? Now I want you to hold that and go through that catch position there. Should feel stuff really starting to like switch on. Keep your elbow nice and high, keep the shoulder down, and then as you go, pull down with your elbow. Who feels some weird and wonderful muscles doing something for the first time? Okay, who didn't? Anyone didn't? Come here. I'll give it a go. Give it a go, try and find it. What's your name? Tom. Tom, stick your arms up, stick one arm up in the air for me. Reach up really high. Cool. Now, what I'm going to get you to do is pull that shoulder into its joint. Keep going. You need more. It can go more.
It does.
Yeah, it does. Go on, a little bit more. There you go. Good. Now, hold that. That's your only focus. Bend that hand here. Bend that elbow up like that. Keep that shoulder down. Now, pull through. Keep going. Keep going. Elbow up. Remember, it's a strong catch position. You feel that? I feel it.
No, I don't.
I feel it. Feel that muscle working. Okay?
Yeah.
Do it again. Reach up. Nice and high. Stretch it up. More. Come on. You need to go aggressively into different ranges to make this work sometimes. Pull down. Pull, pull, pull. Keep it down. Flick your hand over. Get your elbow up. Elbow up. Come on. Keep the shoulder down. Good. Now pull. And then pull against me now. Feel it?
Yeah, now I do.
Yeah, you just need a bit more resistance for your brain to figure it out, yeah?
Yeah.
Feel the difference?
Yeah.
Now go up. Keep your arm out of it. Keep your shoulder up. Flick that down. Bend your elbow. And try and push against me now. Go. Feel the difference?
Yeah.
Yeah. Don't get that anymore, do you?
Yeah, no, it's good.
You lose it. There you go. He's had his ow moment. Thank you. Okay? For the guys who didn't feel it, if you want to, come find me at the end. I'll do it then. Okay? We'll go through that same process that you can feel and understand what we're doing here, okay? For those who did, that should have been a bit of a light bulb moment for you in terms of how we can get your stroke to be a bit more effective. Okay? Because we can teach that over and over again. Is everyone done? No? You just need to unlock it?
Yes.
Can do that. I had a sticky note and I'd written the code on the back, I thought, but it turns out I only wrote it on my hand and then forgot. So there you go. Good. Does that make sense to everybody? Understand that? That's my demonstration to you why that joint centration thing is important. Everyone can sit down, okay? Because without you getting that arm into that position, okay, and being able to hold it while it's down there, because Tom felt the difference when I applied force to it more than when he didn't, right? Can be quite normal, okay? So when you're applying force against it, against something that is harder, okay, and you're holding that shoulder in, the muscles have to actually turn on and work, and you get the result out of it, okay? We can do that in the gym, Really, really easily and really effectively. Okay? We can do it through hanging on stuff. We can do it through just pulling down on cables. We can do it a million different ways. Okay? Really easy skill that we can develop in the gym that you can then come into the water and you'll start to feel that start to happen. Okay? Because I'm assuming that most of you guys understand or can visualize what your freestyle catch is probably supposed to look like. Yeah? Probably not supposed to look like that. Yeah? Probably here and pulling through. Yeah? And this is a big thing that I say to coaches all the time. Okay? A lot of the time when people, you've worked on something for ages and ages and ages. Yeah? You've given them 100 different drills to do. None of them are working. Okay? First thing you need to do is make sure they can firstly get into the position first. Because if they can't get into it, if they can't get that range of motion, the drills are not going to help them. Okay? They need to be able to get their arm up above their head and be able to get in that position. You ain't doing it in the water if you can't do it on land. Okay? The second thing they need to do is make sure that they have the strength to support the stroke and to actually be able to pull through. And that's what comes from that shoulder joint. Does everyone understand that now? Excellent, cool. I can move on with my life and your life. Now, anyone need a break before we get into this bit? Perfect, I didn't want to give you one. Okay, implementing an effective dryland warm-up. Now guys, I like to make sure that with all my presentations, I actually leave you with something, okay? What I don't like presentations where people turn up, present, and this is why I record it, and this is why we send it out to you guys afterwards, where you present something to a bunch of people, they seem really engaged in the room, and then next week, they're back doing whatever they were doing before, okay? This is my way of giving you something that we can then apply to you guys and get that right. Does that make sense? Cool. The easiest way that you can do this with the time constraints that most people have in their lives, okay, is through an effective dryland warm-up. Okay? Who's doing a dryland warm-up before they get in? Yes, that's a good start, okay? What is the goal of your dryland warm-ups for those who are doing it? Decrease your injury, loosen up, yep.
Mobility.
Mobility, perfect. Anything else? Activate your muscles, perfect. Excellent, good. You all have the right goal, okay? We summarize this in a really stupid jargony term in the strength and conditioning world, okay, of opening a window of trainability, okay? The reason we call it a window is because it opens and then it closes, okay? The window opens, you become more trainable. The window closes after a period of time, and those things disappear slightly, okay? So the mobility work and stuff you do beforehand should be, for some of you guys, really focus on trying to get that arm above your head. So when you get in the water, you have an hour to 2 hours where you have extra range of motion that you can use in the water, okay? And then it will probably go away to some degree when you come back to it the next time, okay? Has everyone found that stretching works the first time? What's that? So you think that you get all the range of motion that you ever needed through one round of stretching?
You've got to stretch each time.
Yeah. So every time, that's what we're talking about here. Yeah? That's the window of trainability. Because you stretch, the range of motion increases after the stretches for a period of time, so you can jump in the water and swim with a more effective stroke. Yeah? Fantastic. The same is for the stability aspect where we talked about activating the muscles, specific muscles. Yeah? We then get the brain to focus for a period of time on a thing, doesn't fatigue it too much, but when you get in the water, it's pre-programmed your brain that this is an important thing and we're going to start implementing this automatically when we're just in the water. Does that make sense? That is what we are trying to achieve with these warm-ups, okay? Temporarily enhancing your mobility, your stability, and your nervous system, okay? Nervous system is just so you're awake and ready to go. All right, we'll talk about that in a bit. Now, who would like to guess what mobility is? And you can read off the board if you like, or the projector if you like. Haven't fixed this part of my presentation yet. Yep, what? Range of motion? I like it. I like it. So how much range of motion you have is essential so you can have good technique in the water, decrease risk of injury, and get into the correct position in the water, okay? Like I've said a few times now, okay? Just making sure I'm still highlighted. I'll edit this out, probably won't, okay? Like I've said a few times now, we are looking to get you guys enough range of motion so you can be effective in the water, okay? And you need certain ranges of motion to be able to be effective in the water, okay? We've demonstrated that quite clearly. You guys all seem to acknowledge that it was a good thing, and we've moved on with our life, okay? That's what the mobility section of your warm-up should be trying to achieve. So if you have areas, okay, where you are not as mobile as you would like to be for your water, you can't get your arm above your head, you're not very good at rotation, they're the things that you should be doing in your dryland warm-up. Does that make sense? Okay? We have a generic one that we'll go through that kind of covers all your bases that you can use, okay? But realistically, that's what you should be trying to do, okay? Because if we can do that before your swim, in like a small period of time before you get in the water, that means we're going to have a better chance of swimming better in the water, we're going to decrease our risk of injury, improve performance, and you're probably going to stay swimming longer, okay? The next bit, stability. Anyone want to guess what stability means? Nicely done, hey? I first did this presentation at some country town somewhere, not this specific one, but on warm-ups, side tangent here, just for a little bit of a break. And I didn't realise that the presentation had failed because this was supposed to pop up second. And then I was just like, why are you guys getting this so right all the time? You guys watched one of the other presentations? And no, they just got me on that. So yeah, being able to maintain position and alignment in the water, okay? That's that, holding the shoulder position more effectively, okay? How else do you think that might look? If we're looking to minimise resistance in the water, where do you think you might need to be? Legs need to come up, yep.
Just all streamlined.
Streamlined position. You want to be able to hold the same flat position in the water with minimal lateral movement. Okay? Lateral movement, bad for swimmers, good for crocodiles. Okay? That's how their mechanics work. Ours don't. Ours, you could probably argue, aren't actually designed for swimming at all. However, for us to figure out how to do it effectively at this point in time, we have figured out that you maintaining a straight line from your head all the way to your feet, while being able to rotate without sticking your hips out in and out like that and looking stupid, is a more efficient way to do it. Correct? Awesome. That's the other aspect of stability. So we've talked about being able to maintain shoulder position and all of that. The other bit is maintaining your body position. Okay? And then the last part is your nervous system. Who would like to guess what your nervous system is? It's be able to, I'll just save you guys the trouble, okay? Enhancing your ability to react faster and apply more force to your movements, okay? I don't know your training schedule. Do you guys train mornings? Evenings only? Some of you guys coming in after work pretty mentally fatigued, walking in a bit like this, shuffling the feet. It works way better with the kids because they all walk in like this. Okay, after a long, hard day at school with all their breaks and not much pressure on them to do anything at all. Okay? I work with a lot of age groupers at the moment and they are fantastic. Okay? I hope they don't watch my YouTube channel. Probably don't. Anyway, walking in nice and sluggish after training, it would be good if we can activate yourself to get yourself ready to go, right? Okay? Who finds that sometimes it takes you 15 to 20 minutes to get yourself moving in the water and feel good? Yeah. Now, it can be a lot of factors, but a lot of the time it's because your brain's not ready and awake to go, especially for guys who train mornings. Okay? Turn up and they end up, spending the entirety of their warm-up not really doing things as well as they could do because they're just trying to wake up and get their nervous system activated. Okay? How many times do you guys train a week? 2? Wicked. 2 to 3? 4? Jesus. Shit. How many? Who's doing? Okay. Regardless, if you spent 15 minutes beforehand of every session doing a dryland warm-up, because this is how long these things take when we've designed them, it's about 15 minutes, 10 to 15 minutes. If you spend 15 minutes before both of your sessions that you do, say that everyone here is doing 2 consistently, okay? That's an extra 30 minutes that you've now achieved of training what is purposeful for your goals, right? Correct? You've just done 30-minute gym program once a week. Congratulations. Yeah? Well done. Now, if we go off the feeling that people take a little bit of time to get going in the water and really switch on, let's give it 10 to 20 minutes. Who wants to go? Which one's more accurate for some people? 15 minutes? Let's go at 15, yeah? 15 times 2 is 30. If I'm wrong, please just tell me. Don't try and be polite. 15 times 2 is 30, okay? That's another 30 minutes that we have now got more purposeful training behind you, okay? So that's an hour more of purposeful training that we have achieved from 15 minutes. Sounds like a pretty good return on your investment, right? Yeah? If we stack that up, how many weeks of the year do you guys train? All year? Pretty much. Someone times that by 52, okay? I'm not going to do it, okay? Because I'll be wrong on the internet and that'll be bad, okay? That seems like a pretty significant amount of time that you have gained in a positive direction towards your swimming, right? To both minimise your chance of injury and maximise your performance, okay? Do you guys think that that would probably be beneficial in terms of you guys trying to achieve your goals? Probably a pretty good return on 15 minutes before a session, right? Sound good? And we're doing that through the mobility, stability, and nervous system activation. Nervous system activation can be anything that gets you thinking. For the kids, we get them to play games, okay? We get them to jump, we get them to do all these different things, okay? And they love it, okay? Because it's actually fun, as one of those other things we talked about, yeah? And they love to do it because it's fun, okay? Other ways you can make it fun is if you all do it together as a group, generally makes people want to do it, okay? Because people don't like missing out, okay? Does that make sense to people? Yeah.
Does it have to be done immediately before you get in the group?
As soon as you can to get the best results out of it, yeah. You've probably got a window.
So you started the training?
Yeah.
That's when it's best to do it? Like,
Yeah.
Wouldn't really be effective if you did it at home and then come down.
It depends on how far away you live.
Yeah.
If you're in Bunbury, probably not. If you're around the corner, you've probably got away with it, yeah. It's going to hold for a bit of time, right? Like, it's not going to just disappear, you know? Like, it's okay. But if you're doing it in the morning and expecting it to be around by the evening after a day of doing everything else that's not swimming, probably you're not going to be that effective. If you're doing it at home and then driving straight to the pool and then getting straight in, probably going to be all right, okay? I recommend that you do it on pool deck with other people, okay? But, you know, the main thing is that you're doing it, okay? And the main thing that I want to stress on this is it's not only going to give you all that extra benefit of training time, okay? But the exercises that we choose and the way that we do it often have a strength training effect on you anyway. So that consistency built up over time, okay, that consistent hard work stuff, okay, builds up and builds up and builds up. That's also the added benefit of you getting stronger just through the microdosing of that. Stronger, more mobile, feeling better in the water. Does that make sense? Cool. That's why I think like Dryland warm-ups, and this is why this has been the presentation I do the most, okay, is the most underutilized aspect of training for swimmers, okay? For someone who doesn't want to go to the gym or do anything else, do a Dryland warm-up that's going to challenge you slightly, not fatigue you completely, and you will get something really positive out of that, okay? This is what we've just talked about. So mobility, we use specific and non-specific stretches and movements for that. For stability, we do specific and non-specific holds. So those isometric holds do play a little bit of a part in this one, okay? Not for the same, like we're not chasing 3 minutes on them, generally 15 to 30 seconds on those positions, okay? And then we engage with specific activation exercises and non-specific games, okay? That's the framework that we like to use, okay? So that's one that we can do. Now, for you guys, I didn't change the bottom bit because I normally wouldn't give you guys a bunch of jumping to do, okay? Just because I've got a feeling that some people probably don't want to jump, okay? You don't have to take a photo. You're going to get it later. Okay? So what we are going to do now is we're going to get up and we're going to do that bit to that bit. So up you get. Now I told you there's a bit to do. We're not going to do 3. We're just not. Cool. So we might take this outside, eh? Nice day. Don't have to record anymore.